What's up again, everybody? I'm Clayton. Welcome back to Ages of Film. Today, I'm going to be reviewing Alien vs. Predator Requiem, also known as AVP 2, the follow-up sequel to the first Alien vs. Predator movie. Thank you all for being here. While you're here, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already and you're enjoying the content. I would greatly appreciate it, and it does help out the channel. So, all right. So going through all the Predator movies, this is the one we're landing on today, Requiem. So released in 2007, directed by Colin and Greg Strauss, the Strauss brothers. Yeah, it had been a while since I had seen this movie. It had been a couple of years, and I'd seen it a couple of times and never really liked it. Never really had much positive to say about it. So I'm gonna give my thoughts, my opinion on this movie. But just as a reminder, this is just my thoughts on the film. So there's no need to be upset or offended by anything I have to say. This is just my opinion. I would love to hear your opinion in the comment section. All I ask is that you be respectful. All right, so we'll start with the positives, as always, and move into the negatives and see if my thoughts have changed at all on this movie, watching it for this review. So starting in with the positives, I will say, just go ahead and say right off the bat, I actually did like this movie a little bit more than I remember liking it on past viewings. I don't know, maybe time has just been a little more forgiving to this movie for me, or maybe I just caught it in the right mood and was able to kind of forgive to a degree some of the negatives and enjoy to a greater degree some of the positives with the film. I still wouldn't say it's still not a movie that I love. It's not a great film by any means, but I liked it a little more than I remember liking it on prior viewings. So one of the positives for me that did stand out this time around was the story. I think that the story moves along at a pretty good pace in this film. There's not like a whole lot of filler. There's not like a whole lot of lag time. Like in the first AVP movie, this was something I talked about in the negatives with that film. In the second act, it really dragged. Like nothing really happened in the second act of the first AVP movie. You could have taken a phone call for 30 minutes, ordered a pizza, whatever, and not miss anything. There was nothing that happened in that second act. This one didn't have that problem. This one actually moves along pretty well. There's movement within the story. Stuff is happening as the film plays out. There's no like lag time. It's developing the story and the characters along the way as the story progresses. So that's something that I was able to appreciate this time around with the film. Maybe it's having watched it pretty soon after watching the first Alien vs. Predator movie. I think that stood out more to me this time around, because in the past I've never really watched these two like back to back. There's always been like time in between the two viewings, but having watched Alien vs. Predator just like a day before watching this one and feeling that lag in the second act of the first AVP, getting to this one, that wasn't there. So the film moved along at a better pace, had a better pacing to it, had more movement and development to the story and character. So that is something that I appreciated and would be a positive for me with this film. I also think that this film had an emotional element to the story as well, with the two brothers, the history between these two brothers and their relationship together, and the fact that they're trying to bond and kind of rekindle their relationship together. I think there were some emotional beats there to it that you can kind of relate to. It's relatable. It's you know you can empathize with both brothers and what they're trying to do, and you can resonate with that story. I think anyone who has a sibling, whether it's a brother or sister, older or younger, you can probably relate on to some degree with the two of them trying to rekindle their relationship. So I do think there's some heart to it. I think there's a little bit of an emotional, a tie-in to the story as well that kind of stood out for me this time watching it, viewing it. So that's the story, how it's structured, the movement to the story, the pacing, and the tying in of an emotional effect to the film made the story for me a more positive this time around. So that would be a pretty strong positive for me. I did also like the two main characters, the two brothers, Dallas and Ricky. I think that they had pretty good chemistry, on screen chemistry together. I felt like that brother that brother relationship was pretty believable. It felt genuine. I could buy that they were actually brothers. If I didn't know that they weren't, and you just told me that those two guys are actually brothers in real life, I could believe it. I could buy that. They had pretty good chemistry together, in my opinion, and I like that how the characters were written, because both brothers are they're trying to make their relationship work. You have Dallas, the older brother, who is trying to redeem himself. He just got out of jail. He's trying to kind of redeem himself in his brother's eyes, trying to get back on the straight and narrow, trying to change his life for the better. And then he has his younger brother, Ricky, who is, been bullied. He's trying to get the girl. He's trying to prove himself to his brother. His brother's trying to redeem himself to his younger brother. So I like how the two brothers were written. I think they had good character writing, and in their performances, I thought were pretty good, and I could buy their chemistry together. So they were positive for me as well. I liked the score in the movie. The score kind of stood out for me more this time in this film than it did in the first AVP movie. There's some good use of percussions, good use of horns in the instrumentals, and it kind of made the score pop a little bit more for me. So that would also be a positive. I did also like some of the kills in this movie this time around. I thought that they gave you more kills. They didn't just cut to a bunch of off-screen kills, which always annoy me, especially in like a horror movie. Like, why would you cut away? Why? Because it's scary? Well, that's the point. You're making a horror movie, dude. Like that's kind of the point. I've never understood why horror movies cut away and to off-screen kills in film. I mean, I kind of get it to a degree if you have to make it fit a certain rating. The MPAA will screw you over if you don't, have a certain rating and, abide by certain guidelines or whatever. I get it. But yeah, to me, give the audience the kills. That's one thing that audiences go to these type of movies for. So I like that this one gave us that. There's some really good kills from the chest bursters, even killing a kid. That kid and his dad out hunting. They both get chest busted by the face huggers. There's some pretty gnarly RIPs in this one that I stood out more this time around than they have in the past. So yeah, that was pretty good. I also liked the horror effect. If I felt like they were definitely leaning more into the horror in this one, maybe even more so than they did in the first AVP movie. And because nobody was safe in this one. Like even the kids were getting, we're getting RIP'd. So these xenomorphs and these predators, man, they were not playing favorites. They were out there saucing people up, bro. They were cooking, and I enjoy it. It added more of a horror element to it, because everyone was getting killed off in pretty gnarly ways. So yeah, I like that they leaned more into the horror side of the story, and you know no one was safe type of thing. So that was also positive for me. I like that they did that, and I liked that they fixed the problem with the past two Predator movies, Predator 2 and the first AVP movie, by not having the Predators tag teaming with anybody. Like, they finally fixed that. There's no tag teaming with the Predators in this one. The Predators, they didn't care about the humans. They were just out to hunt, do their thing, and sauce people up, bro. Like, they were out there on the streets grinding, slapping fools. And that's how it should be. That's what I like. It makes them scarier when you do it that way. Once you start, putting them in tag team death matches, bro, it ain't the same. It's humanizing them too much. And yeah, I did like that Requiem actually did away with that, and they actually made the predator creatures terrifying, and actually go back to its roots of hunting humans, and not not pulling their punches with the human folk. So that was a positive for me. Moving into the negatives, I do still have some strong issues with this film. Let's address the elephant in the room. The biggest issue with this movie has always been, for me, the cinematography and the horrible lighting of this film. This movie is so dark, like visually dark. I watched this movie for this review with all the lights off at night. So there was no sun coming in through the windows, no lights on in the room, all dark. And there were still scenes that I could not see what was happening. I could not make out what was going on because it was that darkly lit, that poorly lit, and that poorly exposed. The cinematography in this movie is trash, bro. This is horribly lit, horribly exposed film, and I don't know how they got away with doing this. Like, were the Strauss brothers just not watching the lens? Were they just kind of trusting the DP that, they knew what they were doing? Did they not send this through the hands of a producer, of a studio? Like, how did they get away with lighting the movie this poorly? That's what I want to know. This movie is so poorly lit. Like, it honestly, it deducts a lot of points from this movie just for how bad the cinematography is in this film. If this movie had good lighting, it could easily boost the rating of this film up at least a couple tiers for me. Honestly, it's that big of an issue for me in this movie. It affects the kills. I can't enjoy the kills as much because I can't clearly see what's going on. It affects the story because I can't see what's happening all the time with certain characters and story plots. It affects my enjoyment of the Alien and Predator, visual effects and designs of the creatures, because I can't see them to enjoy them. Like, it literally affects the whole viewing experience because of how piss poor the lighting and exposure in this film are. It boggles my mind how the director and the DP got away with the piss poor lighting and cinematography in this film. I'll never understand how that got through. Yeah, it's bad. It's really bad. It helps when you are watching it in the dark, but like I said, even then there are still scenes where I just can't see a darn thing because this movie is so poorly lit. So that is easily the biggest issue with Requiem. Horrible cinematography in this movie. Another negative for me would be I felt like a lot of the side characters didn't have much development going for them because they were killed off right away. Like I'm all for, killing off a character that you might think is going to be the lead character early on and then changing it up and having you follow a different character. That can work and has worked really well in past films, but when you're introducing a number of different characters in the movie and just killing them off almost as soon as you introduce them, there's not like a whole lot of time for me to really invest with them or to really care about them or to, feel anything necessarily for them. I mean, obviously, yeah, you feel bad for their families or whatever that they're losing someone like the dad, the husband to the military girl who has the daughter. When he gets RIP'd, obviously you feel bad for the girl that she lost her dad. You could tell that they were obviously close, but there wasn't enough screen time with him for me to really invest with him as a character. Same thing with the sheriff guy, same thing with, a couple of the other side characters, the one waitress girl. Yeah, I just felt like they focused too much on, maybe a little too much on just wanting to give kills and kill people off so it makes the film more unpredictable. But in doing that, they sacrificed kind of letting the audience be able to kind of invest with any of these characters other than the two main leads, the two brothers that we're following. I felt like all the other side characters were kind of just cannon fodder, kind of expendable. And I just didn't really have time to invest the way I would like to make their deaths more impactful for me. So that would kind of be another issue. And then some of the story points also I felt were pretty weak and didn't make a whole lot of sense. Like there's scenes where characters are doing certain things that didn't really make sense. Some of the dialogue as well was kind of bad, poorly written. And then you get characters that really didn't serve any purpose to the story. Like one of the scenes you have in the beginning, you have Ricky, the younger brother, going to deliver pizzas to the girl's house, and she's got her boyfriend there. And all he does is just deliver some pizzas and then, says a couple of lines of dialogue to the girl. No flirtation is happening. He's not hitting on her. He's not flirting with her. He's not trying to get her digits or number or anything. He's not saying anything derogatory to her, to her boyfriend, or to anyone else in the house. He's literally just dropping off his pizzas. And as he's walking out to his car, her boyfriend comes and just starts beating the crap out of him. Like for no reason. Why? Like why was that there? Just to tell us that her boyfriend is a jerk? Okay. So then why did you need to have her have a boyfriend to begin with? I just felt like they tried to force in this romance between Ricky and this girl, and then they didn't even pay it off because she ends up getting RIP'd by the predator. So by one of the predators. So it's like, well, everything you were just trying to set up just got flushed down the drain because there's no payoff to this. So why did we need an hour of trying to create this romance that never got paid off? What was that scene with the pizza? Like with the boyfriend thing, the reason I'm harping on that is because there's no reason given for that boyfriend to react the way that he reacted. Like it'd been different if Ricky was like hitting on her or flirting with her or like trying to get her number or whatever, or saying derogatory things to her boyfriend. He literally did none of that. He literally just dropped off the pizza, said like 2 lines to the girl, and then left. And then once he gets to the car, the boyfriend's going to run out there and beat the crap out of him. It didn't make any sense. It wasn't a normal type of behavior that anyone would do. Even jerk boyfriend jock figures like that would not react that way. So there were a number of scenes like that just didn't make sense. They weren't a normal type of reaction. There were characters and certain plot points with the characters that didn't get paid off. The sheriff guy, although I like that actor, didn't really serve much of a purpose in this film other than just being, the sheriff and the guy that needs to call in more hands to try to come, figure out what's going on, but didn't really serve a purpose. The waitress girl, again, you didn't really do anything with her. So I don't know why you even needed to set up her story when you didn't really do anything with her. There was a number of things like that. That just, even the mom, the military mom with her daughter, I didn't really feel like we got any payoff there. Like I wasn't sold by the end of the film that she's fully rekindled her relationship with her daughter. It just felt like, okay, the daughter's happy to be alive. She's happy to at least have one of her parents still around. But like there wasn't any closure there. There wasn't anything that made me feel like, yeah, that story that you're setting up was paid off well. It wasn't really there for me. So yeah, the stuff was kind of messy in the script. The plot points and character story boards and stuff going on. It was kind of messy. It was kind of messy. So yeah, that was another kind of big negative for me. But that's really all I have for negatives. Again, I feel like I could possibly be a little more forgiving and actually like this movie a little bit more if I could actually see what the heck is going on from start to finish. But that freaking piss poor cinematography bullcrap, just lighting, man, lighting. Anyways, my overall rating for this film, I'm going to give it a 2.5 out of 5. It did go up slightly for me. I used to have this film at like a 2 out of 5. It has gone up at one tier to the 2.5 decent film range. Now, I was able to get a little bit more out of the central characters, out of the story, out of the kills. So it did move up a little bit for me, but not by much. I still prefer the first AVP to this one, but this one was a little bit better than I remember it. So 2.5 out of 5 for me. That's my rating of Alien vs. Predator Requiem. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section. And until next time, kick it, you freaks, and rock on.